to have a profound spiritual experience without going into a cave for 30 years, without going through, slogging through all these, what I consider to be very difficult techniques that are sometimes available in the physical world. We have the unique ability to have our own spiritual experience. And by the very act of leaving your body, you've already transcended one of these layers. So you're closer to the source. Mm-hmm. That is, in a sense, your energy body is a launch pad for whatever you want to make of it, because you are that much closer to the source of everything. And from there, you decide how you're going to use it.
You know, you referred to sort of arduous techniques that people are using, whether those are meditation techniques or other paths that do seem, I think, quite difficult for people. Learning how to have an out-of-body experience, is that not that hard? Can anybody do it?
Good point. Out-of-body experience does take dedication. It takes daily practice. There's no shortcuts. I'm not saying it's easy. I never have said it was easy, but I know it's very direct and powerful. I know it works for me and works for tens of thousands of other people. But it's not for everyone, and I'll be the first to share that. It takes a certain person to be, let's just say, be free enough or courageous enough to be able to explore beyond their physical limits. But again, it's not a point of being easy. It's a point of it's available, and it will be, some people it will resonate with because it's active. Many people, I'll give you an example. In my workshops, I often get about 75% men. And when I've asked them, which is unusual in workshops, it's generally 75%, 80% women. And guys always talk to me about this and said, "Why are you here?" I ask them. And they say, "Because this is exciting. This is active. I feel like I'm taking control of my own destiny and not waiting for something to happen." I think that kind of sums it up. A lot of people like out-of-body exploration as a path because it's an active process. And there's a lot of excitement around it with the vibrational state, which we really haven't talked about at all, and all the prelude to an out-of-body experience.
Well, let's not skip over the exciting vibrational state.
Okay. The vibrational state is essentially the prelude to an OBE that 80% of people will experience, according to my research. And it is powerful, it's abrupt, it's shocking for people. Suddenly you're paralyzed. You feel paralyzed, and there's energy flows going through you. There's this electrical buzzing noise moving through you. Or you're being touched. Or you feel like somebody's trying to pull your legs. Or you just feel a presence in the room, or your name being called. There's over 50 different elements that make up the vibrational state. Essentially, anything strange that happens out of the norm during what we perceive as sleep is the vibrational state. It's the prelude, that transfer of consciousness is beginning. And for many people, it gets to be quite exciting. You have to be prepared for it. You have to remain calm. You have to surrender. For instance, paralysis. I enjoy that temporary state of paralysis because I know that's a launch pad for OBEs. Mm-hmm. I surrender completely to it. And that's what works. You surrender because you're transferring your awareness. You have to let go of the physical. The paralysis state that many people are so afraid of is actually a very natural state of consciousness. Same thing for the vibrations. And all of this is all part of the vibrational state. Many people, matter of fact, most people will experience all of these elements sometime in their life, but they don't know what they are. They don't know how they connect to the experience of out-of-body exploration. So they just linger in the state and become fearful, especially paralysis. There's even terms now for it about it's almost a medical condition. But it's a natural state of consciousness that occurs when we're transferring our awareness from our dense body to a higher vibratory energy body. And a lot of people, it's almost like an early warning system. It's like, yeah, here it goes. Here we go. You just relax into it. Almost every one of my out-of-body experiences involved the vibrational state.
So the courage that you referred to earlier is being able to let go through that vibrational state? To go with it?
Yes. You have to surrender and let go. You have to surrender to the now, as many people are talking about today. But it's very true in this work. You must surrender. Because of your analytical mind, if it kicks in, it will block the experience every time. You have to let go of all analytical thought. And that's part of the training in this process. You're letting go of that, your connection to all analytical thought, and you're letting this higher portion of yourself take over. It's very exciting work.
William, just a couple final questions. We're sitting here together, and I wrote down a quote from a presentation that you gave to the Sounds True staff, introducing them to out-of-body experiences. And this is, "We are not human beings. We are consciousness in a human container." And as we're sitting here together, we could experience ourselves as two human beings sitting here together on these brown chairs in a studio, microphone set up. But I'm curious, how do you experience us sitting here?
To the best of my ability, I perceive us both as just consciousness having a communication, and that these vehicles are just a part of the process. That's how I view it. The physical vehicle is such a temporary little facade that we use. It's silly to get too attached to it. So that's one of the practices I teach, by the way. In my, I do a 4-day workshop with the Monroe Institute. And in that workshop, I teach people to disassociate their entire feelings with this flesh body. And when they examine other people, we actually do techniques where you begin to perceive everyone. In other words, I'll put people in pairs and have them just begin to look at each other as non-physical beings. In other words, begin to disassociate from this self-identity of just this container. And this really helps to allow us to go beyond the limits of this. Because most people are so identified with this three-dimensional form, they actually believe they're this flesh bag. They think this is what I am. And imagine how limiting. Once you have accepted that as part of your beingness, you've trapped yourself in that body. So the work is in conditioning ourselves to move beyond it. To just like the Buddhists do. Well, that's why a Buddhist monk is selected when they're very young, so they can begin to condition them to that they are not just this flesh body. They're so much more than this. That's the same thing that I do in my workshops.
Okay, and just finally, William, our program's called Insights at the Edge. And I'm always curious if people are aware of or working with a certain edge in their own being, meaning something that they are questioning, something they could imagine moving beyond, something that's up for them at this moment. And I'm curious if you have any response to that, the edge for William right now.
For me, the edge would definitely be to re-experience myself beyond form in as often as possible. Instead of, during OBEs, I don't focus on the physical-like world. I did that for 10 years. I try to the best of my ability. I move beyond all worlds of form, all realities of form. And to the best of my ability, I try to reconnect with that higher aspect of myself. And for me, that's always a challenge because we always have to deal with our own blocks. So for me, that is the edge. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm always working towards.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. I've been speaking with William Buhlman. He's the author of a new Sounds True learning series on how to have an out-of-body experience, a program that is filled with lots of techniques, practices, and different portals and entryways into the OBE world. William, thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you. It was a pleasure.
SoundsTrue.com. Many voices, one journey.